before we go, just because I tweeted it. Yeah, we got to go through a little Marquette stuff, and I got to say hello to the Indiana fans, all the Indiana fans out there that are flooding my DMs. Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. I don't know why they're so upset. Like, all I did was say, like, there's no way in hell Brad Stevens is coming to Bloomington, and they kept coming. And then some dude tweeted yesterday, I don't know who that was. Some dude tweeted that it was done with Brad Stevens. So then I had to play the game again yesterday and try to get to Brad and, pregame availability for the Celtics. I got on there because I cover the Celtics enough and asked him the first question. And he just reiterated, I guess, a little bit stronger. I mean, I just asked him flat out. I'm like, what are the chances, you're considering Indiana? And he said, I'm not. Let's move on. He gave a great quote. I don't know if you saw his quote.
Yeah, the problem was, and what he really just needed to do was say it right up front. Like, I listened to the whole thing that he said, and it was a 2-minute and 32-second answer to your question. And he talked about how much he loves the state of Indiana, and he talked about how special it would be to go back, and he talked about how great this and that is. And instead of just saying, look, I'm not taking Indiana, but this is how I feel about the place. He said, this is how I feel about the place. And at the end, he was like, I'm staying at I'm not leaving. So what happens is you have all of these people that are going to listen to that whole quote and not pay attention to how much he talks about how much he loves Indiana instead, and read into that instead of saying, okay, he's not coming. This is what he said. So that's just, I mean, if you really want to nip this in the bud, just say it. Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, he was trying to be respectful. He was trying to be respectful of Indiana because, as we knew.
No, I get it. And you can be very respectful, but you can also just say, look, I'm not going right now.
It was wishy-washy, his first one earlier in the week, and that's why I wanted to get him again of just, hey, Brad, are you going or aren't you? Are you considering it or aren't you? Are you going to be the Celtics coach? Yeah. And he said, the best quote to basically say I'm not leaving was, he said, like, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a 44-year-old masshole. I eat Dunkin' Donuts. I swerve around on the road, and I root for the Patriots. And so it's over. Indiana fans, you're not getting Brad Stevens. The 10-year deal worth $65 million. It didn't matter what the number was either, Rob. Didn't matter. The money was irrelevant to Brad Stevens. Did he consider it? I don't know. I mean, again, only he and his wife Tracy probably know the answer to that. I think he listened because, again, it's Indiana and that's Brad Stevens. I think he listened, and ultimately he's not going to Indiana. And now the question is, who is going to Indiana? That's the big question now, Rob.
Here's the thing about it that people need to understand is that the life of an NBA coach is so much less stressful than the life of a college basketball coach. Like, when you're in college, you have to go out and you have to recruit, and you have to deal with boosters, and you have to deal with administration, and you are the one whose job's on the line if your players do something bad off the court. In the NBA, it's the players whose job's on the line if they do something bad off the court. There's so much more involved with it, and it's so much more 24/7. In the NBA, you go out, you coach, and you come home, and that's it. And you go to bed.
Need to know. Here's the best quote Brad ever gave me. He said, when I was at Butler, I used to drive home and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I'd either be calling people or they'd call me. Now I drive home from practice, nobody calls me. I'm like looking for people to talk to. That's the biggest difference from, obviously there's more travel in the NBA overall, but they get the off season. He doesn't have to worry about being on the phone when he's coaching. He's just coaching. So he's not coming back to college, period. That's over, Indiana fans. So they still, as of yesterday, obviously they were still trying to work through this Brad Stevens thing. Dolson was, and see what they could get, if they could get any traction. Now they got to start moving in a different direction, obviously. And is that direction Chris Beard? Is it John Beilein? Is it one of their own? Keith Smart, Mike Woodson, somebody like that? Do they look Porter Moser if he beats Illinois? Do they look that route? Who do you go after? Who do you go after for you?
Oh man, it's tough. If it's me,
Yeah.
What I would do is I would go out and try to get John Beilein, and I would find a way to get some kind of Indiana alum associated with that. Maybe like a Dane Fife, maybe a Keith, like somebody to put on the staff.
Albert Cheney, you could load up Michael Lewis from UCLA. You could get all of them if you wanted.
Yeah, get someone, even if you got to term them as like the associate head coach or the coach in waiting or something like that. Get somebody that has shown the ability to develop a program and build a program, and get somebody on the staff that will be an Indiana guy to kind of alleviate some of the immediacy that the Indiana fans are feeling. Like, I feel like if you have someone there that they know and love, that has been with the program and been around the program, that it makes it that much easier to tolerate the fact that you're looking at like a 3 or 4 year rebuilding job. Like, this isn't going to be a snap of the fingers kind of thing,
right?
At Indiana. I think that you need someone that can come in and take a couple of years and really build this thing from the ground up. But I don't know if that's going to be what ends up happening. I don't even know if you can hire John Beilein at this point after what happened in the way that his tenure with Cleveland ended.
That's the big question I have is like, people kind of forget about the way it ended with Beilein and obviously in the current climate we're in. Does that follow John Beilein, or is he able to get another big-time job like Marquette without worrying about the repercussions and the backlash? And can he recruit at the same level? Now, the one thing with John Beilein, it's not like they really succeeded at Michigan with like top 20 players. In fact, the highest-rated guy he ever got was Mitch McGary. And how did that turn out? So,
yeah, I mean, what he did was he was great at identifying the players that fit specifically into what he wanted to do, and also going and finding guys that were under recruited, mostly because of age, right, or because they needed like one certain thing developed, a certain level of development. Like Karis LeVert was too skinny. Let's bring him in. Let's redshirt him. Let's put some weight on him and see what happens. Go out and get Franz Wagner or Mo Wagner. Yeah, you know what? They're young for their age. Let's bring him in. And let's see what happens. Like, that's what Duncan Robinson. Yeah, he's a great shooter. Let's bring him in and let's see what happens. Like, that's what he was great at doing. And I think that's what you need right now at Indiana, is to have a guy that can come in, not have to worry about recruiting just 5 stars and get it done. I don't know if that's going to be the option that they go to.
I would go Beard. I would empty the vault for Chris Beard. I would empty the vault. Again, I don't know if he leaves Lubbock. He's already making 4 point something. Now, Indiana was willing to pay Brad, obviously, like 6.5, something in that vicinity. Could you get Beard for 5? A number that starts with 5? I don't know.
Let me ask you this: if you're Chris Beard, right, and you're from Texas, you're living in West Texas, your family's in West Texas, do you want to leave a place where they love you, where getting to the tournament is celebrated, where getting a 6 seed and winning a game is considered a great season, to go to a place where you're living in the fishbowl? I mean, he's proven that he can go to a national title game. Like, if DeAndre Hunter doesn't hit that 3 at the end of regulation in the national title game, like, he wins a national title at Texas Tech. Like, he doesn't have to leave Lubbock to go be able to win a national title.
Harder. It's just everything's harder because it's Lubbock. It's harder to recruit guys than it is at Indiana. It's harder to recruit guys than it is at, if another big time job, if Arizona opened up, right? Like, it's just harder. He can do it, and he's proven he can do it, but to do it over and over and over again.
Is it weird for me to say that I would rather have Arizona than have Indiana at this point, just because I think that you can still kind of get the same caliber of talent? There's still the same level of expectation. There's still the same kind of fan passion, but you don't have, I feel like the pressure to win at Indiana is so much greater that it's significantly less stressful on you dealing with what you got to deal with at Arizona than what you got to deal with at Indiana. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's only one difference, that Arizona's not open right now.
Yeah,
Indiana is. That's the big difference. So
now, I know what you're saying. I was just trying to make a point overall.
I think they're similar. I've always said Arizona and Indiana are like similar levels, similar type jobs, not top 10 jobs anymore, but kind of right around there, somewhere in that 10 to 15 range probably. All right, let's talk about Marquette before we get moving.
Yeah, and Minnesota. If you got anything on Minnesota, there were people in the chat asking about Minnesota.